Welcome to the Director's Chair with Quentin Tarantino, Volume 1.
Yeah, you can select those two.
Hey, Mark.
Where's the close-up? Is it that one?
Hi, I'm Quentin Tarantino, and you're watching the El Rey Network.
Here we go. Percent. And action.
Welcome, Senor. I'm so excited to have you here on the El Rey Network. I was laughing all the way driving up here just thinking about what we were
So I'm actually kind of curious about what questions you want to ask.
Well, I've been preparing this interview for 22 years.
True that.
I've got footage of stuff I'm going to show that I've kept for 22 years, things that I've recorded while being with you, being inspired by you. So a lot of the stuff I want to talk about is really just kind of process. I mean, what the Director's Chair is about is a director interviewing another director about the craft, because we all approach it differently. And it's very inspiring to people to hear someone's process, because it really defines how they do what they do. And even though I've known you so long, there's still a lot of things I don't know about just how you do it.
Let me interrupt one thing. Do you remember that moment? I mean, we're now sitting here in my movie theater, not a screening room. F that. All right, now it's this movie theater. But do you remember when I first started collecting prints? I had an apartment off of Crescent Heights.
Oh, absolutely.
And we would put the projector in the living room, and so we could throw it on the kitchen wall because it was like the bigger throw. And we'd be sitting there with just Dubatine covering the windows, because it was the only place that got direct lights, and naturally I turned that into a screening room so I could block all that out. And we're sitting there watching a 16mm print of something around, I think White Lightning, And I turned to you and go, "Hey Robert, isn't this the life?"
And it was just so fun. I mean, you always loved cinema. You always loved movies. Yeah, stringing up your little 16mm, and we're skipping work that day. We're playing hooky. Sometimes we had things to do. We're supposed to be responsible. And you would call me sometimes. Your assistants would call me and say, "We can't find Quentin anywhere. Do you know where he is?" And I go, "I don't know where he is."
I'm saying,
and then I'd get a call from you. I'd get a call from you, and you go, "Hey man, I'm totally playing hooky today." You want to play hooky too? All right, you know what? How often is this going to happen? I'll go over. And you'd have White Lightning up. And you would just turn around and go, "Isn't this the life? We're here watching our own movies on our own screening room." And the screening room wasn't a screening room. But it was. That's the magic of cinema, just seeing the image flickering in your home and seeing it the way you remember. And that kind of love for cinema, we've had so many conversations over the year about movies. But I wish more people were privy to that. So that's kind of what this is about, because I know they would just be inspired by it. According to filmmaker and historian Peter Bogdanovich, and he would know, you are the single most influential director of our generation. And here's why. Reservoir Dogs.
5-man job, busted in and busted out of a diamond wholesalers.
I'm acting like a professional.
Pulp Fiction.
I'ma sit medieval on your ass.
Said, goddamn.
Everybody be cool. This is a robbery.
Jackie Brown.
How you doing, Miss Jack?
Are you scared of me?
Kill Bill Volume 1.
You and I have unfinished business.
Kill Bill Volume 2.
Hello, kiddo.
Death Proof.
You really need to be sitting in my seat.
Inglourious Bastards.
And hot.
We will be cruel to the Germans. Through our cruelty, they will know who we are.
Django Unchained.
What's your name?
Django. D-J-A-N-G-O. The D is silent.
And soon, The Hateful Eight. What an amazing, groundbreaking filmography from someone who was essentially self-taught and self-made, and who single-handedly revolutionized cinema at that time. I wanted to kind of go back in just the early days and how you started to become someone who wanted to tell stories visually, because you could have chosen many paths telling stories, and you chose visual.
Some boys are into monsters, some boys are into sports, some boys are into cars. I was always into movies. But I actually remember my parents even saying, "Oh, Quentin's gonna grow up and be a director someday," just because they just knew how much I loved movies. I didn't even think I knew what a director was then. And when you're younger and you see movies and you know that that's what you want to be part of, you probably want to be an actor because that's what you see, that's the tangible thing. I started at an acting class, but I realized I really wasn't like a lot of the other students. They were about acting, they were about getting jobs, they were about becoming movie stars. I was really about cinema. I was really about movies and about the history of movies and the future of movies. My heroes had actually become directors.
Right.
They weren't actors. I wanted to become an actor so I could work with Sergio Leone, or work with Martin Scorsese, or learn Japanese and go to Japan and work with Akira Kurosawa, learn Italian, work with Mario Bava. That's what I wanted to do.
Right.
I just kind of realized, I don't think this acting thing is for me. I don't think appearing in movies isn't enough. I want the movies to be my movie.
Right.
I want it to be mine. Just being in it isn't enough. I want to figure out what the movie is. I want to own the movie. Once you actually start thinking about directing, if you look at something like Good and the Bad and the Ugly, or Once Upon a Time in the West, well, that's directed. You can actually literally see what the director does and the way the characters, enter frame and exit frame, and the way the camera does its thing. It's like almost like a directing school. Doesn't mean you have to direct like that, but it shows you what directing is.
Right.
Shows you cinematically.
And was it also partly watching movies and going, I would structure this differently, or I would tell a story differently, and I'm never going to get a script like that as an actor. I would have to go create.
I don't think I thought about structure that much at that point in time. I think it started off with me thinking of shots. At the time, I never even thought about writing. But where I actually realized I had a little bit of talent at it was going to acting classes. Because I didn't want to do just the normal Samuel French plays and stuff. I would go and see a movie and I'd see some neat scene. I was always doing bizarre scenes in acting class. I'd see Jackie Chan's Big Brawl and see a scene and then
write it down.
The Dilla De Laurentiis Flash Gordon. Remember the scene in Flash Gordon where it's like Flash Gordon and Timothy Dalton are sticking their hands in the tree with a monster. It's sort of it was like a comic book version of Deer Hunter or something.
Must be my lucky day.
You do them as monologues, or you do them with somebody?
No, I do. I did it with another guy. I got a refrigerator box and cut a bunch of holes in it.
Oh, funny.
And I cast some guy to be Flash Gordon, and I was the Timothy Dalton character.
That's a great scene, but it's not that long of a scene. Would you add to the scenes?
I would add to the scene, because what happened is I never had the script or anything.
Right.
But basically, I always had a good memory. So I would see a scene from a movie, and I would just remember it. And I would go home, and I'd write it from memory. And anything else I couldn't remember or anything else good I came up with in the meantime, I'd add it into the scene, because it was just my scenes. And then little by little, I started adding more and more and more to the scenes. And that was me learning how to write dialogue, or just me realizing that I could write dialogue. And I never really took it seriously until a member of the class, a guy named Ronnie Coleman, I think, goes, "Quentin, you're really good. You're as good as Patty Chayefsky." What do you mean I'm as good as Patty Chayefsky? Well, we did that scene in class from Marty, and you just wrote it down, and you gave me this handwritten scene from Marty, and it included this entire monologue about a fountain. Well, I actually have the original Patty Chayefsky script, and there was no monologue about fountain there. That was completely added by you. You added an entire monologue to it.
Wow.
And it was just as good as the Patty Chayefsky stuff.
That's great.
And, somebody saying something like that to you actually got me to start taking it seriously, that maybe I did have a talent for that.
That almost knighting by somebody, just somebody saying early in your life, somebody, tells you anything like that, you should listen, because you don't always know. And we're going to talk about this later. Sometimes you don't know when you're making something that's going to be groundbreaking. It doesn't look groundbreaking when you're staring at it. But how old were you at that time?
19, 20.
Wow, so this is, 11 years before Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, this is way before. That's awesome. Tell me about Reservoir Dogs.
That was an idea I had that just completely was based out of something I thought I could do. With a few $1,000s, I could actually make this. I could just get a bunch of actors, we rehearse it. And finally, after years of nobody wanting it, the company Cinetel bought True Romance. And so I actually did have $30,000 coming. And this is, I'm a guy who had only made $10,000 a year.
Right.
And so I decided I would go out and I was going to make a movie with that money. And I didn't really think anyone was ever going to take a chance on me to actually direct a real movie and done in a real movie style. I thought I would have to, just do it very guerrilla style. Then I showed it to Lawrence Bender, and he was like, "Quentin, this is really good. And I actually think I could get some real money, even if real money meant $500,000 or $400,000 or something." I was like, no, I don't believe that. I don't buy that.
You'd waited too long by
everybody
that point.
Everybody said, no, it's never going to happen. I don't know if I would even trust me, so why should anybody else trust me? And he said, well, give me a month with it. You could wait a month to make your home movie. And if we can't, then I'm full steam ahead, and that's the way to go. But if I get interest in a month, then we'll actually try to do it for real. And he got interest in a month, in literally a very few months' time, from the point that I wrote it to the point that we were shooting was maybe 5 or 6 months.
Wow, it's really fast.
And I was doing a real movie with a real budget, with real actors, Harvey Keitel, for a real company that was taking a chance on me for like $1.3 million. I actually showed up on my first day and there were trucks,
Wow.
you know, on the street. Like, oh my God, that was almost a bigger deal than seeing the camera or anything, was to see the trucks parked in front of our location. And frankly, you know, I identified more with the PAs than anybody else on the set because we were all about the same level of experience. The only sets I'd ever been on where I worked was I was a PA on the Dolph Lundgren exercise home video.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was my only working job where I actually was part of a crew. But, you know, it's one thing to say, hey, I want to make a movie, hey, I want to make a movie, and then finally somebody goes, okay, well, they're going to take a chance on you. Like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, but you didn't blink.
Yeah, well, you know, I blinked, all right? I blinked.
You can't tell.
I mean, not during the doing it, all right?
Hear your names. Mr. Brown, Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Blue, Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink.
Your first film right out the gate had a big cast. You were showing what a force you were in the directing world, being able to take that group of guys, direct them so brilliantly. How did you do that?
Well, because I started off as an actor, and actually the only training I'd ever done has been as an actor. I always knew that would be one of my strengths as far as like dealing with actors and writing the characters and dealing with them and getting the best out of them and being able to talk actor talk. I was all about my shots, but I wasn't all about the lenses and the lighting and all that stuff that maybe a lot of film students at the time were. What I could do is put a bunch of actors in a room and get the best out of them.
Right.
And actually kind of rehearse the scenes and like get them to the right kind of pitch.
You gotta remember that this story is about you and how you perceive the events that went down. The only way to do that, my brother, keep saying it, saying it, and saying it, and saying it, and saying it.
We had a 2-week rehearsal. And we had chewed the rag on the material so much, and they were so ready to go. It gave me confidence. I knew I was the best person to do this movie. Right. I knew this material better than anybody else would know it. And these guys really respected me. They wanted to make my movie. It was the diving into the material that just gave me confidence. I was ready to do it.
Can't imagine a more confident person than you. So to hear you say that, I think really will give people, you know, some consolation if they feel nervous about a step they're going to take. You should feel nervous. You should feel some fear, because that means you're embarking on something that is worth your time.
But if you're doing a piece, that's the answer.
Right.
Get to know that piece. Know that piece. There was nobody better. I chewed the rag on it so much. There was nobody better than me to tell this story. Now, whatever happens after that is what happens after that. But I knew this story. Everybody else on that set could know a hell of a lot more about filmmaking than I did, and they all did. But I knew this material better than they did.
Hey, showtime. Grab your jacket. I'm parked outside.
I'll be right down.
Everything was like kind of new and like, you know, finishing your day, getting your day done, going to new locations, working with all these people, getting everything that work, you know, being the director of the crew. You know, it's not just, you know, one, you're an artist, but two, you're also a general. You're the leader. You have to lead, and you have to lead by example. So then you do all that, and then that's done, and now it's editing. It's a completely new experience. And so you go through that, and then now it's the sound mix. And that's this really huge experience. Right. But what I just kind of noticed is that, you know, there was always like just like a new mountain to climb. And my late editor is not here anymore, Sally Minke. She was, we had done all our films together before she passed on, including Reservoir Dogs. Now, she had done movies before too. So once I was actually finished with the edit of the movie, once I had locked the picture and that was the picture and everyone agreed and it was exactly what I wanted, she kind of took a little bit more of the lead because she knew about the sound process more than I did, knew about the lab work more than I did. And I'm starting to get a little tired now. But that's actually when she would pick up, all right? And she'd just take just a little bit more of the lead position and ram things through. So when like the print would come back and I didn't, you know, there was a problem with the lab, and I didn't like something or whatever, I might be more inclined to just be sad about it because it didn't quite work out. She was like, no, that work is unacceptable, send it back.
Right, professional.
Yeah, and then I'm sort of like, gosh, she's been kind of mean to them, you know? It's like, no, they can do it better than that. That's just absolutely, positively unacceptable.
That's great. What's your favorite part of the directing process?
I don't really have one favorite part. Each part is my favorite part at that given time. And right when I'm kind of done with it and sick and tired of it, it's usually over.
Right.
And now I'm moving on to another part that's really exciting. So it's like, it's not that I think editing is so much more fun than shooting, or shooting is so much more fun than writing. Writing is a tremendous amount of fun for me now. I really have a great time. But when I'm done with the script, I'm sick of writing. I'm done it now. Now I want to put the material on its feet. Now I want to make it better. And now I want to put in the other voices and the other people. And now we're going to leave that document in the dust and do something even better than that. But after shooting forever, I'm done with it by the time I'm done. And now editing just seems so great. And it seems now it's more of a solitary experience again, as opposed to this carnival.
Right.
It's a little closer to writing again. And so, it's between those three sections. It's
right.
the writing and the directing and editing. By the time that's over, now for the first time, you're really looking at it like a movie. To this day, I can't read a novel and not turn it into a movie to some degree. He gave us enough confidence with this idea by stringing us along that we went forward with it.
Here we go. Percent. Here we go. Percent. And action.
I had a question about just your unique storytelling. I mean, what led you to constructing that sort of back and forth, nonlinear style that you did in Reservoir Dogs? That really kind of took people by surprise with the chapters and introducing the characters. Where did you get the idea from?
I'd read novels, and in a novel, you can start in the middle of the story. An analogy I would give is Moe, Larry, and Curly. And they're doing something, and it's just moving in the forward momentum of what they're doing that's taking place in the here and now. But now it comes to chapter 3, and chapter 3 is about Moe, and that happened 2 years before.
Right.
And
you just accept it in a novel.
Yeah, and you read it in the novel, and you read kind of how Moe got there a little bit, or explains more who Moe is. And then you go back to chapter 4, boom, and now you're back into the same current situation, the same thrust of stuff, but now you know more about Moe than you did before. And then the next chapter comes, and now they're gonna isolate Larry. Maybe that only happened a day before, but it sets up his situation. And to this day, I can't read a novel and not turn it into a movie to some degree in my mind. Anyway, I always thought if you did it the way they did it in novels, it would be even more cinematic.
I'm sorry.
It would be exciting, and if you pulled it off, it would be fun.
Say it!
The cross-cutting would be neat.
I started shooting, so I blasted my way out of there.
And it's not just one thing. To do movies the way novels tell stories, when they move around like that, that would be inherently cinematic.
Yeah.
And to just put it all in chronological order was inherently not cinematic. It was drab.
Do you remember a time when you figured that out, where you read a novel in particular and it's like, how come the movies aren't like this, and I'm going to do this?
It's not one novel that got me thinking that way. It was more just every time I read a novel like that, I thought I figured out how to do it.
Right.
And I knew that that's not what Paramount would do if it had the opportunity. Especially if you're talking about coming off of the 80s, which I think was a very oppressive time for cinema. The studio system was, one of the more repressive times to come out since the 50s. I mean, things were just very standard. Things had gotten very, very homogenous. There wasn't a whole lot of creativity going on as far as like doing new things. People like Paul Verhoeven or David Lynch were really put in boxes as being weird. Everyone had to be likable. There was like never dark shades of things. Like, you read crime novels and characters could do so much and be so twisted, and that if they ever talked in the 80s about doing those movies, they always had a wimp out ending. They'd say, oh, you can't do a movie about that. It's just the characters are too unlikable, or it's too immortally ambiguous. That just was the death in the 80s. So I'm kind of coming off of that. And then I did finally have one thing that I thought proved that I was right, is Fred Shalepsy did an adaptation of one of the John le Carre novels, The Russia House, with Sean Connery and Michelle Pfeiffer. And I never read the book, but you could tell he kept the structure of the book, which was really moving back and forth, and the story actually doesn't catch up with itself until about midway through.
Right.
And then from that point on, everything is everything.
Yeah.
But before that, it's really kind of hopping around back and forth, and it was exciting. It was really, really fun. And so I was like, oh, see, I knew this would work.
Those moments are just so important, especially when you're doing something that's been done for so long, like cinema, when you just question something and you go, how come no one's ever done this, or why don't they do it that way? I felt that on Sin City. I remember looking at the graphic novel, reading it and going, this is more cinematic than a movie.
Yeah.
The way he's just putting a drawing while this voiceover is going, and it's action-packed, but his voiceover is very calm.
Yeah, why does it have to be a facsimile of this? Why can't it be
that?
this?
Just shoot that.
Yeah.
Make it like that, and that will blow people away, because they're used to just seeing a movie. And visual storytelling, the way Frank was doing it on the graphic novel, I just wanted to see that move. And the way you saying you read a novel and go, why don't they make a movie like that? That's storytelling. It should work. You shouldn't have to adapt it to a film. It should just work, because it's still storytelling.
I would think it would be kinetic. It would be exciting. And the audience has to know it's in good hands.
Right.
It has to know that there's a there somewhere. But as long as it's in good hands, it likes kind of not knowing and waiting to find out.
One of the hallmarks of your films from the very beginning has just been your musical choices and your style. Were you always just a big music fan?
Well, I got really lucky. I mean, because I could be stuck in a situation where I was doing really low budget movies, I wouldn't be able to afford anything. In the case of Reservoir Dogs, we had like $13,000 set aside for our entire music budget. But I knew I needed Stuck in the Middle with You. Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I got the feeling that something ain't right. We had to get Stuck in the Middle with You for that price. At the time, the woman with the power of the pen there, the person that had the yes or no at EMI, was this really lovely lady named Pat Lucas. And so Stacey Scher, who later became a producer on Pulp Fiction and was one of the producers on Django Unchained, she knew Pat Lucas, wrote her a big blowjob letter about how talented I was, and if you're inclined to, I think Quentin could be another Kubrick. And so we just really kind of romanced her. We had to know before we shot the scene. And so she had that much time to think about it, and finally she thought about it, and she decided to give us a song for $13,000. Okay, what's your music budget? Well, then that's what I'm going to do it for. Right. So we spent our entire music budget on Stuck in the Middle with You. If that was going to be the only song in the film, so be it. But then we got the idea of maybe if we got a record deal, that record deal will pay for the rest of the songs. And we started getting a little cocky about the idea. And actually there was one guy kind of stringing us along who never came through. Yet he gave us enough confidence with this idea by stringing us along that we went forward with it. Wow. I don't think we actually would have gone forward with it if we didn't have somebody kind of lying to us. But then we were committed, and then we actually made it happen.
Right. And then that became such a, hallmark soundtrack that you just.
Well, I got to really show it off. My talent, be that as it may. All right, of putting music and scenes together. When I'm seeing my movie for the 8th time or the 9th time, or hell, even the 3rd time or 4th time, I'm waiting for the music sequences, because those are the fun parts. Those are really the fun parts. Those are like, the surfing parts where you're just gliding. It really is an anthology. It's 3 separate stories. No one looks at it that way anymore. The hero just killed that person, and who is this guy? What's going on?
Here we go. For sec. Here we go. For sec. And action.
I remember when I went back to work on Desperado at Columbia Pictures on the Sony lot, we ended up finding out we had offices right next to each other.
Yeah.
You were writing Pulp Fiction at that time.
You got a corpse in a car, minus the head in a garage. Take me to it.
How did you come up with Pulp Fiction? Because it fascinates me how you came up with this structure. You thought originally to do it as short films that you could just shoot?
I thought about the idea, why don't I do this as like an anthology with like different directors and stuff? And I was friends with Tony Scott at the time, and I was always a huge admirer, as we both are. He had done True Romance. So I proposed to him and his partner at the time, Bill Unger. I go, what if we do a thing we call Pulp Fiction? I'll write one of the stories, I can write another story, Tony could do one, and I'll write a third one, and we get another director to do another one. And they were like, wow, that's great, let's do that. So I started working on one. And I did have the basic idea that would be Vincent Vega and Marcellus Wallace's wife, that story. And so I thought, well, I could write that, and then we could go out and do that as a short film, and that would be kind of cool, shoot it on 16 millimeter. So I did have that kind of idea. And when I had that idea of doing it as a short film, I wanted to possibly do it with Roger Avery, who was a good friend of mine at the time. And he was also working in one of the video stores, and I really liked his writing. We encouraged each other. So Roger, why don't you come up with a story of your own? And he came up with like the Butch Coolidge story, the boxer story. He didn't have the gold watch speech in there. He had a gold watch, but he didn't have the speech or the reason why the gold watch was so important.
Now, little man, I give the watch to you.
I like the cliche aspect of it. I wanted the storylines to be cliches. The boxer's supposed to throw the fight and doesn't.
Right.
The hood that's supposed to take out Mr. Big's maul, or look but don't touch.
Right.
You're just the beard. And then like what happens. Then I started kind of thinking about the idea of them not being separate one-offs. Making it so maybe some characters can overlap.
Right.
And not in a gimmicky kind of way, but it just all take place in the same world. And a character who could be the lead of one story could just be a small part in the other, and vice versa.
Right.
And the more I started thinking about really kind of tying them in together, even though the three stories would be separate, the more I said, no, I really need to have one hand take care of this. So I had to call Tony and go, yeah, I've decided I think this is going to be my next movie. And so then I went off to Amsterdam to write it.
Get a load of this, all right? If you get stopped by a cop in Amsterdam, it's illegal for them to search you. I mean, that's a right the cops in Amsterdam don't have.
Oh, man, I'm going.
I love the evolution of an idea like that because it ended up being such a groundbreaking movie.
But to me, it wasn't really a whole lot different than, like, say, Mario Bava's Black Sabbath, which is like, 3 horror stories. We did one of those, 4 rooms. There have been things like that before, but never like three separate crime stories. That was unique. And the idea that like the 3 separate stories could end up telling one story. Yeah. Well, that had never really been done before to that degree. And it's and it still is. I mean, it's actually the best compliment because it really is an anthology. It's 3 separate stories. No one looks at it that way anymore. Or even then, they all looked at it as one big unified piece. But that's kind of hard to do. But it actually is 3 separate stories.
It seems so new. I mean, it was new. At the time, a friend of yours, I don't remember, it was a producer friend or an actor, somebody asked you, okay, after they saw the movie. So when John Travolta, so he's still dead though, right? They had just never seen.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, he's dead, right? And I go, well, of course he's dead. That wasn't a dream sequence. Of course he's dead. I mean, you know where you are, all right? You're back in the scene that you were at earlier. Now you're just going further with it.
And it was a, wow.
But it was a big leap to ask them to do. And not everyone quite got it at the time, but most people did. There might get a little moment of confusion, but then okay, I guess we're just back where we were at the beginning. Yeah, yes, you are. I mean, one of the things that was actually really exciting about watching the movie, I was always ahead of them in Pulp Fiction. They're in the entire running time for the most part.
Right.
If you stopped watching Pulp Fiction after the first hour, you didn't even really see the movie. Like, it takes an hour for it to really get going, or for it to start really revealing itself. There was this neat thing that happened with audiences every time, and I watched it with a lot of audiences. The movie would start in that cafe with Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer, Pumpkin and Honey Bunny. Then it would go into the John Travolta, Sam Jackson part, then the John Travolta, Uma Thurman part, and then the boxer comes into it with Bruce Willis, and then we go back in time, and now it's Jules and Vincent again, and all that goes on. And little by little, you forget about Pumpkin and Honey Bunny. And it's going on, and I've been ahead of you the entire time. Then when you'd cut to the exterior of the coffee shop, before you go in the coffee shop, even though you never saw the exterior in the opening scene, the audience had caught up.
Wow, that's great.
And they knew, oh, that's what he's gonna do.
Wow.
Those 2 guys, the guy and the girl, the British guy and girl from the beginning, they're gonna be there. Oh my God. And it was this kind of thing where it's like, you son of a bitch. I haven't understood how you're telling this story from the very beginning. But now, it's taken me this long, but now I get it.
Right.
Now I know, for the first time, I know what you're gonna do.
I've heard you a few times say, if I do my job right, I'll be able to play the audience like a fiddle right here, because you really are tuned into what they will like.
I've always been pretty attuned. I've always considered myself a part of the audience. So I don't like second guess it as far as like, I'm gonna smarten it up or dumb it down or do anything to get an unnatural response. I know how I feel when I'm being jerked around. And it's fun. And I do like jerking them around a little bit. And it's pretty easy.
What do you make of all this?
Man, I don't even have an opinion.
Well, you gotta have an opinion. I mean, do you think that God came down from heaven and stopped him? Oh!
Audiences didn't even realize how attuned they had got to the contrivances of movies because they were so used to it. So you could use that against them. You could leave the breadcrumbs that would indicate that you were going to go the way all the other films had gone. And then all of a sudden you make a quick left turn, and they're not prepared for that. They didn't even know that they were anticipating what was going to happen next, but they were. And so then you use their own knowledge against them. And that's exciting. Now all of a sudden the storytelling is infused with something. Now you can't predict it. I thought you were going to, I never thought that guy would die. Or I know that guy's a goner. Oh no, he's not a goner. All right, oh my God, the hero just killed that person? And the innocent people are dying and the hero doesn't care and they're just like cracking jokes and they're moving on? Who is this guy? What's going on? We all want to do something different. However, when you're watching it with a regular old audience for the first time, all of a sudden, you wanting to be Godard doesn't sound like such a great ambition when you got a bunch of people who want to be entertained.
Here we go. Percent. Here we go. Percent. And action.
And I like to talk about how some things that look like a failure aren't always. That's why I kind of like to keep a journal about everything, because sometimes when things don't go your way, you look back and you go, oh, well, thank God. And Friday, May 14th, 1993, you had just finished the script in the cast, and you were talking to Christopher Walken, Harvey Keitel, Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, John Cusack, Matt Dillon, Larry Fishburne. TriStar had 30 days to greenlight your script. You were getting everything together, elements, budget, schedule, all that. So we walk in with all the cards. If TriStar takes a breath, we go somewhere else. They took a breath, and you went somewhere else. And thank God. I remember at the time, because we were both in the lot, it was a big deal. It was like you were going in to be a made man. You were going in. Right, yeah. I was waiting for the phone call. You were going to go in, turn in the script. What was the verdict? They said no. And you're off the lot. You're going somewhere else. And I was left there by myself. I remember thinking, wow, that really sucks. But then, it would not be the same movie had you made it a TriStar.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't have been the same movie because they just didn't have the faith in it. They would have thought it was weird.
Well, what's funny is it was even weird to you. I mean, even for you. And there was a point, I have all these dates because I write everything down. Sunday, May 1st, 1994, we went to dinner. We talked movies. About 2:30 in the morning, I'm about to leave. And I asked you, how did Pulp come out? Because I didn't get to see you at a screening for a bunch of your director friends, and I was in Texas. So I wasn't there. And you went, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it still feels like, it doesn't feel like a real movie. And I said, what do you mean? You said, well, it still feels like a movie Quentin would make. It doesn't feel like, it still just doesn't feel like I've made a real movie yet. And, me trying to be supportive because I've seen how excited you were from the beginning. Yeah. And you being a little down on it, I was just like, oh, well, that's, just try to be a supportive friend going, oh, well, that's okay. I mean, it should be, more like you.
But it didn't seem like a real movie. It seemed like a crazy Quentin movie.
It's what you called it. You were almost disappointed that it still felt like it had too much of your hand in it, which of course now that's the blessing of what you do, and that's what it should be. But at that early formative years of yourself, that was essential that you were at a place like Miramax.
But it's also interesting though, because it's like we all want to do something different and do our own way. However, when you're watching it with a regular old audience for the first time, you don't really want it to be that different. You kind of want them to recognize it somewhat as a real movie that they might see on a Saturday night.
You want people to be entertained at the end of the day. You don't
And all of a sudden, you wanting to be Godard doesn't sound like such a great ambition when you got a bunch of people who want to be entertained.
I just think it's so important for people to hear that even you didn't know what it was going to do, because people don't, something that's groundbreaking and that's going to change cinema, you don't recognize it. Nobody does. I think the time that happened before most famously was on Star Wars. George Lucas got all his director friends and buddies to look at it. De Palma, Spielberg. And they all were just like, oh, poor George, he wasted his time with this movie. What a fool's errand this was. Spielberg recognized it for being something that it could be. But I talked to some of the directors, because I wasn't able to go to that screening that you had for your director friends, and I was curious. I called up a couple of the people and said, well, how did it go? And they said, yeah, I'm not sure, don't know about this one.
They've never seen anything like it.
They've never seen anything like it. It was like that Star Wars. That was our Star Wars. Pulp Fiction was like our Star Wars. Where not even we knew.
But there was one.
Who was the Spielberg in the group?
Catherine Bigelow. Absolutely, positively.
Awesome.
She was its biggest fan.
Wow.
She went nuts for Reservoir Dogs, a Telluride, and I'd always been a fan of hers.
Yeah.
So you hooked me up with her.
Yeah, because I was following around Telluride that whole time, asking about Near Dark.
Oh, Near Dark, Near Dark, Near Dark, Near Dark, Near Dark.
Oh,
Exactly.
don't ask me about that movie.
Oh no, that's all I had. That's what I talked to her about. Near Dark, Near Dark, Near Dark. All right.
For her to say that's awesome.
She wanted to put John Travolta in Strange Days after seeing that movie. She screened it for Jim Cameron, and apparently, like when she did the screening, she goes, "Guys, you're in for a treat. I mean, you don't even know what you're gonna see. You don't even know what you're gonna see, but I know what you're gonna see, and I can't wait to watch it with you guys." Nobody else was saying that, all right? After my little director screening with my friends. You know, there was even one of them that was planning on, okay, I'm gonna have to have a hard talk with Quentin.
Wow.
But I'll wait till he comes back from Cannes. I'll wait till he comes back
never
from
mind,
Cannes.
we're not gonna have that.
The Palme d'Or goes to Pulp Fiction.
Then all of a sudden I win the Palme d'Or. And literally they left a message like, well, I was actually going to get a little tough with you. But I guess we can forget that. What the hell do I know?
What the hell?
I only made one movie too.
What the hell did anybody know at that time? It really changed movies, because I was still at Columbia. And I remember the executives, when that movie did what it did, they came and they went. It was like when Easy Rider had come out, and suddenly the studios felt like dinosaurs. They were like, we're trying to make movies for youth. That's a youth film. That's what people are into. And we don't know how to do that. There's nothing else coming out, even on our schedule, that's even remotely like that, except maybe Desperado.
Yeah, right.
Because I had already shot you in it.
Yeah, right.
But that was it. There was nothing. So it was really turned the industry, and audiences were exhilarated to go to the cinema again, and they weren't going to see anything like that till your next movie. You were the first real rock star director. You were like hanging out with one of the Beatles.
Here we go. Percent. Here we go. Percent. And action.
Sam Jackson, how did that relationship start? And it's like one of the great partnerships, De Niro and Scorsese, John Woo and Chow Yun-fat, Ron Perlman and Guillermo del Toro. I asked him this question too. What is it about those kind of partnerships that are so unique to filmmakers, or what's important to their process, or what does it mean to a filmmaker when they do that? And these actors, no matter how great they are, they always seem to be better when they're with their director counterpart. What is that?
Well, I mean, there's a few things with Sam. I mean, we like a lot of the same kind of movies, all right? So it's not like he doesn't get it. He comes from theater, so he comes from, the work ethic of like the play is the thing. That's what we're doing here.
Come on, let's get into character.
He knows his dialogue, left, right, and center, upwards and downwards. But then the thing that makes our relationship is just nobody says my dialogue the way Sam Jackson does.
And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Sam gets it 100%. I mean, he's a terrific artist, he's a terrific actor. Now, Christoph says my dialogue as good as Sam Jackson, but he doesn't say this the Sam Jackson way. He's like he sings it in a completely other tune. But the way Christoph and Sam Jackson do it, they turn it into the poetry that it was always supposed to be. Right. They get the music in it, and they sing it. They sing the dialogue. They don't say it, they sing it. And it just takes off. It just takes off. It's just, it's alive.
Most definitely.
What's she gonna do then?
Well, that's what I've been sitting here contemplating. First, I'm gonna deliver this case to Marcellus. Then, basically, I'm just gonna walk the earth.
What you mean, walk the earth?
You know, like Caine in Kung Fu.
Sam's not like my buddy. Sam feels more like he's like my, grumpy, cantankerous uncle. He's a total smartass. Absolute smartass. All right, talks through the whole movie. Makes fun of people all through the movie. All right, we'd be doing a scene with an actor like, oh, honey, I'm sorry, honey, could you get out of my eye line? You're in my eye line. Sam, like, ever do theater? A lot of motherfuckers in your eye line.
Right. He's like that. He's entertaining on this.
Yeah, and I'd be standing up and there'd be something like, this kind of rigging, all right, pipey rigging right above us. And I'm standing up talking, now, Quentin, you about to crack your head open on that big pipe. Not that I wouldn't enjoy watching that, but I'm just gonna let you know you're gonna crack your head open on that pipe.
One of the most exciting times for me, I think, is when we met in the festival circuit, because you made it seem in particular so fun. Movie making seemed just so fun. And what I was surprised, we're having a blast. You were having a blast too. And it was infectious. I mean, it was intoxicating. And after that movie, I doubled as your bodyguard. It was insane. People would just follow you everywhere. They would just go crazy. You were the first real rock star director. You were like hanging out with one of the Beatles. That was the explosion of independent cinema in the 90s.
A lot of people making really interesting noise. Allison Anders is doing her thing. Rick Linklater's doing his thing. And David Fincher now does Seven. Then you come out with Desperado.
It's cool, I say.
What actually kind of gives that rock star thing a little credence is younger people started actually looking possibly to filmmaking the way they had looked at starting a band before. Starting a band wasn't the way to express yourself. Getting a camera and trying to make a movie, that was the easier way to express yourself.
You weren't expecting that when you made it, and to you, it was just like another movie that Quentin would make. Mm-hmm. How do you follow that up?
This is a zeitgeist moment. This is a phenomena. I'm not gonna get another phenomena the next movie out. I go, I should throw them for a loop.
Jackie Brown.
Who can be a woman in her late 40s? You can tell she used to be really beautiful, and you kind of feel she could handle anything. Like, why? That sounds like Pam Grier to me.
Took me into a little room. Can I read you Kill Bill? And I sat down, I turned on my video camera.
The bride speaks for the first time in the picture. She looks up at the man standing over her and says,
Bill, it's your baby.
We hear a bang!
I wouldn't be surprised if 20 years from now, Inglourious Basterds is probably like the one they talk about the most. If you watch the acting right next to the camera, right in front of the actors, it's as if they are acting just and solely and utterly only for you.
Good. Great job.